Hey guys, D.Bowie here, and this is how EG.Sumail counters Ember Spirit with Earthshaker. Usually, when you think about shutting Ember Spirit in the mid lane, you think of Ursa. This is a hero that most pro players like to choose. While he's amazing in lane against Ember, Earthshaker has a lot of good benefits as well. First of all, he can cancel level 1 Flame Guard instantly with Fissure. People usually feel like the only way to play 1 versus 1 with Earthshaker is getting for enchant totem at level 1, but as you can see, the fissure is great. Embers usually use the skill to push the lanes and secure the range creep. Also, since you don't have a lot of base damage, you don't want Ember doing this with you, even if you could do more damage with enchant totem on him. As soon as OP turns it on, Sumail tries to secure 1 creep and immediately takes the flame guard off. With Poor Man's Shield, he can trade decently against Ember and he won't be forced to last hit under the tower. The lane progresses and you can see that Sumail stops using fissure completely, and most importantly, he gets level 1 aftershock. You might be puzzled, but enchant totem without aftershock is very underwhelming, and ideally, if you really want to shut down the Ember, you can get level 2 fissure at level 3, and if you cast it close to Ember, you can destroy flame guard level 2. You might not know, but aftershock deals damage on top of the stun, and the magic damage of fissure level 2 and aftershock combined is enough to break it. He doesn't go for it to deal with the fact that Ember has better base damage and was getting a decent lane even without flame guard. Sumail gets a regen and the lane really changes momentum after this point. When OP turns Flame Guard on, we can see that even level 1 fissure and 1 enchant totem from close range is enough to break Flame Guard level 2. And this is the key of Earthshaker being so good against Ember in lane, which means that Ember has 0 kill potential on Earthshaker. While against an Ursa, you can argue that if someone ganks the Ursa, Ember has the damage potential to bring him down, since his level 2 slow doesn't do enough magic damage to break the Flame Guard. Even with supports, Ember will rarely have the damage to actually take the Earthshaker down unless he misplays. The fact that Sumail is maxing enchant totem also abuses the fact that Ember is a melee hero with terrible armor. See how Sumail plays here? Basically what you want to do is bait your enchant totem and the enemy hero either chooses between maybe getting 1 last hit and taking a huge amount of damage or taking a huge amount of damage. It's always a lose-lose provided you're good enough to not use enchant totem if he backs off and get the last hits anyways. Ember gets Light of Fist to maybe dodge the fissure, but since the cast time is so big, Sumail oftentimes can cancel it, and that's a kill for EG. I'm going to be honest, this wouldn't be that easy without the Regen Rune and a Crystal Maiden in Sumail's team. But Earthshaker is definitely a legit counter against Ember in lane, and more importantly, I feel like he's way better in the mid game against Ember, since with Blink Dagger he has kill potential on Ember post level 6, which is not really the case for Ursa most of the time. Looking at Sumail's items, you can see how important the mana regen is. He wants to get phase boosts this game, so raindrops, bottle crowing, and clarities are essential. This allows him to keep constant lane pressure, and the Ember can't recover. See how much damage Sumail can do to Ember here? OP commits chains to get last hit, and that's an opening for Sumail to take 60% of his HP away. We can see the playstyle again. No rocket science, you hinder your enemy's last hits with enchant totem, and when a creep is about to die, you can commit the skill to get the last hit and the stun. This time he ends up not cancelling Flame Guard because Fissure was cast from too far away. But you can see how hard it is for Ember to be relevant. As you can see in his engagement, there is some counterplay for the Ember Spirit, but unless he gets tons of points in Light of Fist, this is very unreliable because of the cooldown and also because it severely hinders his peak of potential after level 6, which is usually the way that Ember Spirits get back into the game if they have a terrible lane. Here, Sumail actually wanted to help get a kill, but look what happens when Ember tries to cancel the TP. The important aspect of the kill is that OP had no remnants, but more importantly, he only commits the enchant totem hit and then he keeps walking and following Ember to commit the echo close to the creeps. Phase boots really helps in that regard. Instead of farming AFK for 5 minutes until he has Blink Dagger, he has a chance of being a very active force before the item. It's important to note, for this hero to be relevant, you need to be constantly shutting the Ember down, and for that to happen, you want your Bottle Crow. If you look at Sumail's items, loads of players would commit the wand for instance, while he knows there's going to be a reaction from the Dire eventually. That magic wand is his chance of turning the gank on Dire, and that's why he keeps Bottle Crowing. One interesting thing to note about core mid Earthshaker is that more often than not, you want to get strength rather than the mana. You have bottle, more levels than normal, which means that you want to focus in the damage aspect of your hero. Strength is great on Earthshaker because it synergizes with the Ancient Totem, and it gives him even more tankiness on top of that 3.2 strength gain, a buff that few people actually noticed. Another thing to point out about Sumail's build is how he tailored the skill build. While he prioritized Ancient Totem until level 6, the control you get with Aftershock cannot be underestimated. It really allows you to dish the damage he gets with Ancient enchant totem. On top of that, the scaling on his second skill is great from level 1 to 2, okay with level 2 to 3, but kinda bad at level 4. I really like that he put more points in aftershock later. I also really like how he held his courier in the tier 1 while he aggressive pushed the lane here. Pushing lanes equals people actually going to defend that tower, and if they don't know about his blink dagger, he doesn't even need to smoke. The sheer fact that he can lure the heroes there sets up the kill automatically. But in this case it was actually in the bottom lane and he gets the Night Stalk. One thing to note about the core Earthshaker is that you should be more careful with how you use Echo Slam in the mid game. Unlike support / offlane Earth, you have way more kill potential with your other skills and with your damage. Unless he wants to get a solo kill on a core, he doesn't commit the skill for 1 or 2 heroes if he has backup, as we can see here. And then we can see him exploding throw on his own. Usually you want to go in with enchant totem, ready, ult, use your attack, but since Throw was about to farm the entire creep wave, it's just safer to go in and secure the damage with the enemy creep wave there. A lot of people when they play core Earthshaker, they only go for damage items. Shadow Blade, straight Crystallis, and while those items are great at this stage of the game, since he actually picked Earthshaker to counter a hero so he had a good lane, he doesn't need more damage, he just needs to make sure he can cast his spells, so EG.Scepter allows him to disable the dazzle while he kills someone, he can purge the Night Stalker silence, flame guard, just a lot of stuff. In this fight we can see them exploding Ember even without Echo Slam. And since Legion went with the duo, look how he actually used Night Stalker, which will give the follow-up damage. I also love how he actually engages on the dazzle at the back of the fight to force a grave or eliminate it completely. He does get silenced, but with the haste he doesn't back off, and look at the angle he casts fissure, even though grave is not over. Not only he gets 3 heroes, it immediately sets up an enchant totem. Since there's no grave anymore, he actually focuses the hero with more HP, and that's a rampage for EG. All of that without any fancy items and no Echo Slam committed. I feel like one of the biggest problems low MMR Earthshakers have is that they don't land fissures that clear multiple heroes in the fights like the one we saw. Since Sumail didn't use Echo in that fight, he hides in the creep wave for a long time until the lane pushed towards his side. This time he has enchant totem ready, which gives him that extra boost of damage to take the Ember instantly. With the EG.Scepter, he actually is able to lock Night Stalker for another kill. Let's get back though. The only reason he actually was able to get him is that the fissure he goes for lands on both heroes. Always strive to hit multiple heroes with your fissures and not only the hero you're focusing. From now on the game is pretty much over. One of the reasons you can go for these cost-effective items and still be relevant with the Earthshaker are the new talents. Having extra 10 strength, extra 50 damage on top of the buff strength gain on him really adds up, and we can see in action here. With 1 enchant totem he deals 600 damage at 19 minutes with no damage items besides phase boots. It's just insane. I actually wanted this game to last longer so I could talk more about it, but from this point onwards it's just a massacre. Guys, I just wanted to remind you that I am crowdfunding my way to TI7, so if you want to know more about the project or if you just like my work, I would really appreciate it if you can check the link in the description. As always, Plugins is a platform where you can learn from people like Chessie, Fog, Monib, and get better at the game. They have now great content on the new patch, and if you want to raise your MMR, it's just a great time. Just figure out the path faster than others and get those easy, crispy wins. If winning MMR is not enough for you though, you should definitely check out our new partner, Lootcase. There you can win and find beautiful cosmetics and go from 0 to hero. They give you a bonus on every deposit you go for, but if you register with my referral link, you're gonna get an even bigger one, so check that out guys.